Good evening. It is well late, 6 minutes late. All right. Uh, I'll own that one. I apologize. It's a pretty good day so far. I gotta say. When is sunset?
Sunset will be at 7:13 p.m. today.
All right, 7:13. Is this thing charged? I find that I let my battery die more often. Right, get down to like 11, and then charge it back up to full. Yeah. So okay. What is that? Oh, all right. I'm sorry. I'm a little all over the place. What's in the news today? Gavin Newsom had his recall. I think he'll win this, and in no small part, with thanks to the liberal media, who, I mean, were openly disdainful of him. He was attacked. They said nothing about it. So this is why you keep, in my mind, why you can keep connecting the pieces to why things don't get better, because a lot of this shit is lip service. They're about power, and they have it. Uh, as for Larry Elder, he was credible, right? He's been talking politics on California television for about 20 years or so, right? He's not some whack job. You were happy to give the spotlight and the mic to the transgendered athlete actress person, right? And when he began to lead, the knives came out on the Democratic end of this. I'm very critical of the Democratic Party. They don't do anything that I've wanted them to do for the last 50 years, and they remain there like a stink. You know, it's one thing to give your constituents something that they want, and then take a little something for yourself. That kind of old-fashioned graft. Now it's just we're going to take everything. We're not going to do anything for you, and on top of that, we're going to run the place incompetently. How you like that? So yeah, I think Proud Boys linked Afghan refugee hunting permit found at Michigan campus. Hey Brian, good to see you. So so that whole recall thing. Here's the thing: if you, I don't know if it's a quirk of California law, but it's not like they do it all the time. I heard that this was the third recall, right, in 100 years, even though the last two came like 20 years apart. And I grant that there's a lot of let's call it personal drama with this whole mask mandate and everything. And I understand we all like to pile on. That's another thing. That's like number five up there. Yeah, you know what? Oddly enough, so am I. Just because of the way the media has been treating them. But I don't think he has a chance. I think when the media puts its finger on the scale, it can say a lot about you, and I think it has. I think they, like I said, them not really caring that he was attacked, they took it. But if the same thing had happened with, like I said yesterday, same thing happened with Hillary Clinton. Somebody in a mask shows up, gorilla mask, not even like a medical mask in a pandemic, a gorilla mask at a political event. In the age where Gabby Gifford and like nine other people were shot, killing like five of them, right? In an age where oh, what's his name? I forgot. The Republican congressman was shot on a baseball field by a Democrat, right? His name will come to me. In that age, they don't take that seriously. In the age of all this terrorism talk, right? All this gun shooting up work and schools and stuff. In this climate, that happens to Larry Elder, you don't take it seriously. And you're the, so yeah. But we'll see. We will see. Uh, California's voters decide Newsom recall. I wonder when this recall will be over. I just don't think Newsom is a decent guy, first of all. Uh, and I'm one of those old school political thinkers, which never actually existed, that the best and the most brightest and like sometimes the most honest should be there, right? And let them fight it out, right? You don't all have to be Republican, you don't have to be Democrat, but at least be honest and about it, and then you can fight it out and what's best for all of us. All I see is just incompetent asshats perpetually bickering at each other in the halls of Congress, and then writing books and collecting checks and stopping this whole this whole eviction moratorium. That's not awesome. It really is not. This whole like if you don't get vaccinated, like you don't have to get vaccinated, but if you don't get vaccinated, you know what I'm saying? All of this just in this climate. And I said this with Trump. I'm willing to give the new guy a shot because I'm sick of all the old people, the literal and figurative old people. I'm sick of all of them. Just tired of it. But I think, and the more I see stuff like this happen, the more I can go, all right, these people have their finger on the scale, and these people have they didn't report this on behalf of this politician. This politician was running for election and had them quiet that down. Yeah, all right, this is why nothing. And so then before you know it, everybody's a dirty dog. And which is why my original sentiment is I think the military is gonna have to fix this shit, right? Because they're the only ones who we can honestly be sure are not taking money from from like foreign governments, right? But who wants a military junta in charge? Right? The whole place is just people need a way to pay for their health care, not medication, but health care. And you put a monetary tab on everything. Some shit like should at this point in our history, we should have universal health care. We should. Or something close to it. And I've always said, give all the minors, everybody 18 and under, the full boat. Yeah. Healthcare, dental, blah, 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 whatever it is. Because you want them to be strong when they do go out into college, in the workforce, into the military. I just don't understand. They broke this country. And I think they broke this country with the Steve Scalise, right? I think they broke this country with the arrogant attitude of, we know better for you, and that is always how you get fucking ridiculous shit happening. And it's been going on for a while. I always point out to people the American Revolution didn't start in 1776. It started like 1765, right? 1767, something weird. That thing was like 15 years long, man. Um, and I think it was because it was just a steady, slow burn of what is this fuckery, and the latest fuckery is Afghanistan, and you're like, oh boy. So now, you need to repair bridges, and people want to play games with the bridges and make sure their friends get it, and meanwhile, no one's talking about this Surfside collapse that happened like 3 weeks ago, like it never happened. Shouldn't someone be talking to some fucking federal? Shouldn't you keep up abreast of that? That is a major story. A whole building fell down. Like this was some third world country, and it was put up with like glue and crackers. It's just crazy. And I think more and more people are just sitting here going, I do not trust the quote unquote truth tellers. And then that's bad because then they just start listening to everybody and anybody. Could be me, right? I heard somebody sent me a text about Boebert talking about the American religious people should take over because the government should be listening to the church. And she's a congresswoman. I was like, man, what is wrong with these people? That kind of talk should get you immediately removed from Congress because you obviously don't know shit about the country. But again, what they do is the northeast to like and then I guess the mid-Atlantic to like has another media sort of saying one thing. Texas said one thing. The middle north said one thing. California had the whole different premise. You get everybody in a room and no one can and then they sell you stuff like what does Joe Biden like to say? The soul of America. What the fuck does that even mean? This nonsensical double talk gibberish. The soul. You know what is the soul of America? I can tell you the history of America. The soul of America. We're all different people. Whose soul is he talking about? My soul likes R&B and fucking rap music and good sci-fi epics. What does yours like? I may dabble in classical music, but I don't want to hear it all the time. You know what I'm saying? The soul of America. Meanwhile, there's other people who will look at me and that description as lame, and they want gun life and murder. Other people want racial superiority. What is the soul of America here? I say it all the time, we all have to be on the same fucking page. Or the best example I can use for this is the Tower of Babel, right? With the idea that everybody at one point speaking the same language before something struck them down. It was God who struck them down, struck them different tongues in all of them. In that scenario, it's just different philosophy of how to do things. And before you know it, we're Europe. And we're not really Europe. You know what I'm saying? Land wars. I mean, there was wars with each other, right? People rushing up the what's the name of that thing? Rushing into Kansas, right? Trying to make it a non-slave state. All this kind of inner anger, fighting for the wrong causes too. How do you look now in history, losing your life for being pro-slavery? You look like an asshole. You look like an idiot, right? What is tomorrow going to be? I always thought that the whole place was about looking to tomorrow. Guns, rock, and barbecue. I like it. And that's another thing, right? Other people, if their soul of America, don't want you to have guns. Other people's soul of America wants everybody and the baby to have a gun. You know? And I totally look, what you need to have is, I live in New York City. There's no need to have hunting rifles here, right? It's 1 million people. Not really needed. I get why there's like a no gun policy in a city of 10 million people. However, now I live in New York State, up by Albany, where you can hunt deer and black bear. Why would I not have a gun in the house? When the houses are farther apart, why would I not have a gun for home safety in my house? Right? But other people can't put those two things together. They can't. You know what I'm saying? Some people are ridiculous with their philosophy. Some people like, I hug trees fairly well, but I'm no tree hugger, right? I get cutting down stuff, but I also get saving old growth forests that's been around forever, right? I get not wiping out the bees. I get not wanting to import wolves into the national parks after you wipe them all out. And I know history. We wiped out the passenger pigeon and I'm just talking about in this country. We wiped out the buffalo, right? So you want to be careful of how much shit you wipe out. But I like John Denver. Yeah, and man, I tell you, country music had a run in like the early 70s. John, that song was in 1978, right? Then he died. But yeah, he had a couple of really big hits that they were playing on inner city urban R&B charts. That says something, right? I used to watch Hee Haw, was it? Right? That was my first, other than my father who liked Charlie Pride. That was my first foray into country music. And you know, that's it. Some people don't listen to any music outside of their genre. That's another thing, right? Music should be this universal thing. And it's not. It's like this, it's like these camps with music now. We're just so happy to just be at odds with each other. I think it's dangerous. And now it's heavily laden in our politics. I think it's dangerous. right? Better be more like Taylor Swift, right? Don't you play pop top 40 music and country music as well? Like she's a little more Dolly Parton than Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton did pop music too, right? Um, what Dolly Parton music? I know a lot of her music, but I don't know it from country radio stations. I used to love the Fall Guy. So yeah, they had a country theme song. Well, I guess it's peppered throughout my life, right? 'Cause going down to the south a lot. But I remember the Dukes of Hazzard. Like that's how I found out who Merle Haggard was, right? I was like, oh, the guy who sings that song is a famous country singer, right? But I think I always knew who like Johnny Cash was. I grew up watching the Mandrells had a TV show on, so you couldn't get a hip hop show on today because people would just be ridiculous at 8 o'clock on a Sunday. People would be ridiculous. Like the Mandrell sisters was good. Hee Haw was one I watched. There was there was another one. There's another one. Reba McEntire had a show on that was on NBC for a while before her sitcom, which was a really good sitcom, oddly enough. But would you call that? Would you call that? I guess that is country. But saying Green Acres is like country is like saying Mr. Ed is about equine. I was about to say equine racing, but it's not really horse racing. What is with that whole culture of breeding and raising horses on horses' estates, right? It's sort of that thing. Um, but yeah, all those good old '60s rerun shows, which I guess now the rerun shows for today's kids are like Friends and like Cheer. Would Cheers even be one? Cheers. Like all the shows I grew up with, I didn't realize were reruns until I was like 12. So there was like Gilligan's Island. There was I Dream of Jeannie. There was the Flintstones, which used to be evening television show, right? And now they were running it in the afternoon for the kids. So back when all the reruns were in black and white, that's why I thought they called them reruns. Now all the reruns are in color, and your only problem is that they're shot in 780, right? Yeah, ton of Western movies on TV, Gunsmoke, right? Bonanza. Um, there was a ton of them. But then they all mellowed down, remember, because the Western died, and then you got Andy Griffith, right? Just kind of nice sheriff who never carried a gun kind of vibe. Uh, yeah, so, man, you got me walking down memory lane here with TV. TV is super important. Here's another thing since we're talking about television. Oh, Norm Macdonald died today. That's fucking sad. Um, quick thing about TV. TV tied everybody together, right? It really did. Um, Now everybody watches whatever they want, so nobody even likes the same stuff anymore. Uh, can't connect or relate to the same shit anymore, right? We're getting more and more fractured. Yeah, yeah. There was a whole range back then of the early '70s. Well, Wayne was more like Alpha Male of the '50s, and Wayne apparently didn't like Eastwood. He thought his westerns were utterly violent and ridiculous. But Eastwood was trying to be like the new like. There's very little blood in John Wayne movies, but there's a ton of blood in Clint Eastwood like westerns. He spit on the dog. He spit on the dead guy's forehead. He's a little more grimy with it, as we say in the straights. Um, but yeah, I mean, now we're off segmented. Nobody even watches the same stuff. So in the old days of how you knew who a spy was, Who won the some World Series in 1950? Somebody I guess would know that. I wouldn't know that. But now it's gonna be like, I don't know. I don't have Hulu. So on Netflix. I don't have Netflix either. I don't watch. I read books. All right. Then who? I don't know. What up, Biz? John Wayne was a Green Beret. I think he did movies. I don't think was he. Yang was never a dim. Are we talking about Andrew Yang? Oh man, this sounds like y'all got beef. uh yeah, is Yang done yet? I mean, he ran for governor of New York and then he completely imploded. Not governor, mayor. So something tells me he may be running for mayor the next time that rolls around, which is supposed to be next year. I don't know. I think I told someone in the chat that he was going to last 2 years. Just going to go ahead and pat myself in the back one for that one, Busy. We're coming up on 7 o'clock. So, oh my God. Oh my God. So you absolutely want a losing ticket. I don't know, man. Maybe I should re-kick off my political show because I mean, if I can get like 5 other people to fucking talk politics once a week, that'd be great. Yeah, well, Yang not only lost out to Adams, Yang stepped in a giant pile of political dump before he lost to Adams, right? So he sided with Israel over the Palestinians in an environment where that's changing. And he, so there was a lot of blowback about it, a lot of blowback, and he looked like he was pandering, and he got that from every corner, quite frankly, every single corner. All right. What is going on in the chat? So let's see what we got over here. Hold on. First of all, Tulsi Gabbard has no constituency. All right, people are talking about Tulsi Gabbard for president. Tulsi Gabbard has no constituency, and it's kind of hard to run for president from Hawaii. No one ever goes to Hawaii or Alaska when they do the trails. She was a congresswoman from Hawaii, right? So, no, he wasn't either. He was a businessman. He was really a Republican. Yang was not authentic. And I said this before, and people looked at me funny. And then, the shine came off him, and then he just looked like what he was. He was pandering. And I told you that whole, what do you call it, basic income, is giving people money to vote for you. You know who did this? George Bush did this. Right before he won re-election, he gave everybody money back. And then Trump tried it. He gave everybody money back. So, yeah, that whole her and the job for Hillary being senator was too small for her. People want that job and will sit there. She didn't even want to do it. She barely stayed a term. So, yeah, I'm extra liking this one. We're gonna put this one up. There may be some stuff I may need the Secret Service to handle for me. But yeah. As for Dan Crenshaw, I don't even know who he is. The name sounds familiar. Oh, this guy. Yeah. Tufts University in Harvard Kennedy School. So, and the Navy SEAL. Who goes to Harvard and then joins the military and becomes a Navy SEAL? You know who? People with connections. That's who. That's amazing. But that's the way you're supposed to do it. You join the American military if you have nothing, right? And they will put your ass through college and make sure you get good grades. They're not trying to make dummies. So, I mean, they will make you do the work and you will look up one day and be that thing you wanted to be. A army doctor or medic or pilot or fucking do they get business degrees in the military? I don't know. But I'm sure they track numbers, so I don't know. But yeah, so why wouldn't you? I think she sold out. First of all, why are you at the Met? I don't care what kind of dress you're wearing. Why are you at the Met scrap? That's that lazy political shit. You know what? We want to go, but what we'll do is we'll make a statement. We'll give you this dress. Fuck you. Shut up. Why were you there in the first place? That's my first question. She looked like she's been selling out for a while. She's up for re-election next year. Well, yeah, she's 20. She should be great at social media. And watch, she's gonna try and keep that thing by probably having a baby or some shit. Some corny, straight down the middle con. Yeah. What she wants is Chuck Schumer's job. But she's caused so much problems. I don't know if she'll do it. Because I think they told her if you fucking let it go, when he dies, we'll back you. And you can have it with the Democratic Party's blessing. So we'll see if she challenges Chuck Schumer. She's not a fan. Yeah, I think she's. I think AOC has sold out a bit. She is great at social media. Yeah, it's. Look, I call them the Clintonites. Newsom's a Clintonite. Cuomo was a Clintonite. You know, there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of them in politics. Not just in politics, but in like media, on TV shows and as pundits, and they act as like a bellwether for any criticism of this whole thing. No one is saying jack shit about Joe Biden's son, right? It's a story. Instead, they're telling you about Britney Spears. That's the family you want to know about. So you know, it is what it is, man. Watch these people play all these games. That's sexist. We don't play with that. Why sexist statement right here, Brian? Shame on you. We're gonna put that on screen and give that a shocked face. My God. But yeah, I think but you know, America's like the worship celebrities, and now they make celebrities of these politicians. So she'll have a fan base, but again, to run for anything serious, your fan base has to be nationally, right? Crenshaw doesn't have it nationally. She doesn't have it nationally. Oddly enough, you know who does have it nationally? Liz Cheney. You either like her or you don't nationally. Actually, you know what? I take that back. AOC, you either like her or you don't. But I don't know if a lot of people know who she is. So yeah, I think Liz Cheney has more name recognition than AOC nationally, and you could throw her on a ticket and have somebody vote for or against her. I don't know if I think if you threw AOC on a ticket, you'd have to find out who she was in most places before you voted against her. Huh. You know how many times I've heard ride or die as soon as like a sweat breaks, everybody's pointing their finger at everybody else. There are no ride or dies, right? In the old days, the mafia used to be ride or die. And oddly enough, Giuliani put his finger in that. And now, you know, DeSantis and Cheney. Oh, see, here's the thing about DeSantis. I would have said that before this pandemic, but now him trying to make you wear a mask to prove how Republican he is, while everybody's Republican, Democrat, and liberal has to deal with you telling them that their kids can't wear masks at school and they don't like it. So I don't know how he gets back into the good graces of anything nationally. I don't think people in his own home state. Al Gore famously lost Kentucky, his home state, as while running for president, right? I don't know. I don't know. I liked his chances before, and now I don't like his chances at all, quite frankly. So yeah, no DeSantis. Cuomo's done. He's got legal problems now. He may end up in I don't know if he's going to end up in jail, but he may end up having to pay like millions of dollars that he may or may not have. And they might look at this book deal, right? Here's a lesson for you kids if you ever go into politics. Never resign. I hate to say it. I want him out too, but yeah, don't resign because you're still close to power that way versus quitting and being cut off from the power completely and it being at the whim of somebody. So you never resign. You deny. When it gets super bad and you go to your best advisors and they go, I think you really should resign. You fire that person immediately. Saddam Hussein way of doing it. That's the way. Yeah, no, because at that point, it's your whole ass. So now you need people to be for you, and you need to know who's against you. Am I the only one who reads strategy books and have played a million video games? First of all, don't do the bad thing. If you do the bad thing, deny, right? And if you keep denying and they keep coming for you, don't resign. Fight it out from within that seat. You should have to be removed. And then you blame the removal on political bullshit. I hate to say it. Or you resign with leaving the power to an aide or an ally of yours who will give you a complete float, like Ford did to Nixon. We're just going to pardon everybody involved with this. No, I'm sorry. We're not going to pardon everybody involved with it. We're just going to pardon Nixon. Everyone else went to jail. But yeah, I hate to say it, but them's the politics. Yeah. And look at how many women came out with like, what are you talking about? This is Joe Biden. Sexual harassment. I'm shocked that you even think of such a thing. And now what happened 2 weeks ago? Like 4 people got fired for helping Cuomo attack his accuser. And they were all Me Too groups. They were like at the very top. And that's what it is. You put your political pawn in charge of it. And that's how you take over the organization. You put people on the board, then those people on the board vote this guy out and that guy in and this guy out. And then the people that they voted in become the majority number. And then they put one of them in charge of the whole thing. Come on, people. There's a whole series of books I wanted to read online that I can't because they're copywritten. But they have all the best how to run a good organization shit in it, as well as all the shit you should watch out for. And you could sort of read it in reverse and know how to set up an organization and how to watch out for people. But yeah, it's power. It's being connected to power, right? Burisma. But it's not just him. Look, when Hillary Clinton's kid graduated from college, they always end up going to Yale or Princeton or Harvard, one of these super duper expensive schools, and they just get in. And when she graduated, her first job was at $3 million a year at some swanktastic law firm. Who gets jobs like that? You know what I'm saying? America loves Europe, and Europe have royal families, and America loves that sort of shit. And I'm like, nah. Look, I'm of the old school of the first guy's a maverick, right? And then his son has to catch up. Oh my God, his son became a maverick. That's amazing. Usually by the third generation, third or fourth, it begins to fall off the edges, right? And a great example of that is John McCain. His father was a general. His father was an admiral, right? His grandfather was an admiral. right? They were a very famous Navy family. His son made it, and John McCain would have, but he got hurt, so he became a politician. And what are the remaining McCains doing? Sitting on TV shows, talking bullshit, crying about how unfair everything is. You're just kind of like, oh, I can't fuck with these people anymore. But times change, right? So maybe those people aren't speaking to me. Maybe they're speaking to my 25-year-old niece, right? And maybe they're like, uh, what's her name? Marilyn McCain is great, and she speaks to women, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, I guess so. Exactly. And Prescott Bush Sr., right? So the Bushes are a very famous family, going back, wow, but just about as long as the Kennedys. Well, not about as long as the Kennedys. Let's say how Prescott Bush made his money in oil in the 40s. The Kennedys were around in the 20s. All right, so they go back to the 40s, right? So then Prescott Bush became a congressman in Maine, which is why their house is in Kennebunkport. And then they just shot everybody out to other places to get elected. Um, yeah. But here's the thing about the Bushes, those sinister, stupid fucks. Watch them because there's a bunch of them, and they're worshipped in like some places. I'm looking at you, Texas. Isn't they have another George P. Bush, P for Prescott, and he's running. But at least one thing about that family, at least they're multicultural, for God's sakes. God bless them. Um, Meg McCain is okay. You think so? She should have joined the Navy. Keep up the family name. But here's the thing: you shouldn't have these families in America, right? Should you? Don't they just clog the place and you can't get in? Look, I get me starting a business and then leaving it to my kid who leaves it to his kid. I get that, American ingenuity. But I don't get all these Kennedy politicians. Like somebody left large swaths of the country to them to look after. And they just automatically get voted in. I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, you people. You voted for Junior, George Bush Jr.? Well, that's fair. Look, man, here's the thing. You can vote for George Bush Jr., right? I can vote for who's up against George Bush. He won against Al Gore, right? Al Gore was president. Al Gore was vice president for 8 years. Started running. Bush ran against him. He beat Al Gore. Then he beat Herman Munster. What's that guy's name? John Kerry. Then he beat John Kerry, right? But leading up to the run of that, it was George Bush, an old political family, and John McCain, Navy kind of like, but not a political family. Not a political family, right? Could write his own ticket in the Navy, let's say, but the politics are the politics. So yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. It's beginning. It's people are beginning to tire of them, right? But it took 80 years. Yeah, I think he's the one of the Kennedys that actually lost, right? I mean, what was his name? I, Robert Kennedy Jr. 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 Was it Massachusetts? Ah, 2020. Kennedy's loss in Massachusetts may mark end of Camelot era. Yeah, it was a long run. After 60 assassination, people had all this goodwill, right? After assassination, President John King famously compared his thousand-day presidency to Camelot, a popular Broadway musical about the legend of King Arthur crafting a wishful shorthand for the Kennedy's tenure and by extension, entire Kennedy dynasty. Now, 6 years after JFK's election as president, Someone wondering if the days of Camelot are over. Mind you, this was when he died 60 years ago. The lead up to this started in the 20s. So that's 100 years over U.S. Rep. Joe Kennedy's failed attempt to oust incumbent Senator Edward Markey. First of all, Markey was much beloved, right? And he's not there anymore. Who's there now? You should have just waited him out. Is he still there? He is not still in fucking office, is he? Yes, he is. Good job, Markey. Really? United States Senator. That comb over is amazing. Oh my God. Do I not have this up? I don't have it up. I'm sorry. That comb over is awesome. Ooh, there he is back in the day with that comb over. Some things don't change. Yeah. He's been, how long has he been in the Senate before I lose my shit? Here we go. Assumed office July 16, 2013, serving with okay. All right. 2013. I get behind that. Massachusetts U.S. House Representatives, 76 to 2013. Okay, he was a congressman for like fucking 50, 40 years. And he's only been a senator for one term. Yeah, he's still been there too long. Get him out of there. The young Kennedy, if you get any endorsement from HRC or Pelosi, you're guaranteed to lose if you're a Democrat. Yeah. Well, no. They voted against Nina Turner and she lost. Right? So there is that. Here's the question. Have we seen the last of Nina Turner? Should we even? See, there's a lot of talk about the Democratic Party don't like you unless they like you, right? So my opinion in the Democratic Party is not wanted, right? So it's like, oh, you're one of the good ones. You can come on in and be but I'm like, this is what we need, and you guys are fucking it up. They're like, yeah, you know what? You're not good for this. Yeah, we need to run this thing the way we run this thing, and we're gonna run it into the ground without you. Nina Turner. Yeah. Happy Tuesday, tax the rich. Today we honor the memory of 2009. Okay, so these are her tweets. Wake up call for Nina Turner's loss. August 12, 2021. Establishment prevails as Brown beats Turner in Ohio. Chantel Brown edges Nina Turner in Ohio Democratic user. Yeah, because the finger is on the scale. Clyburn, Clyburn will tell on you. He is not one of you. He is the opposite of that. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. But it goes to show that they're running it like a mob. It's a club, and they want you to believe in the old ways. If you can get elected, just like the whole pull yourself by your bootstraps thing, but it's all this kind of weird fucking con on like people. And now people are like, hey, you know what? We got real issues with the climate and healthcare and the border security and the violence and just able to buy a house, rent a house, much as buy a house, and eviction moratoriums. We got all these issues. What are y'all doing about it? You know what we're going to do? We're going to fight. I mean, they're both the problem because I think they set up, this is what we do. We'll argue about this forever and not change anything. And we'll raise money on it. And that's what they do. All the problems that should have been fixed, they kick down the road and they keep kicking it down the road. And now America just kicks shit down the road and goes to war with people in fucking sandals and dresses, excuse my language, and gets it handed to us. Why? Right? Maybe our military isn't as good as that, or maybe it was so mismanaged that the people who mismanage it, who are never held accountable, shouldn't be in charge of it, right? But it can't be no reason, all right? I'm going to blame the military, but somebody fucked this Afghanistan thing up. We went into Iraq, right? So it goes, you sit here going, what is going on here? And you can see it in all aspects of how the government runs the place. Oh, it's beginning to get dark. Woo. Oh, sunset was 5 minutes ago. What time is sunset tomorrow?
Sunset tomorrow will be at 7:11 p.m.
Wow, it went from 7:13 today to 7:11 tomorrow. All right, we are gonna cut this light on. I thought I cut this light on. Ugh. Ouch. All right. Ugh. Woohoo. Blinded myself. Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean that's part of what is. I think that's some part of what's going on here. Clyburn is just a fucking functionary that someone stuck there to get their political way or their economic way or whatever. And when you rise up against them, all of a sudden you rise up against the state, and it's all this kind of stuff. So you lose if you go against them, but things keep falling apart, and no one's happy. Like I said, that January 16th wasn't an insurrection. Democrats want you to believe that, and then they want you to blame Trump, and then they want to take advantage of that in 2 years in the next president of 3 years in the next presidential election. Um, when what it was another unhappy group of people pissed off at the government for doing dick, and that's the way I look at it. Was it a riot? Yeah, it was absolutely a riot. Should people go to jail? Yeah, people should absolutely go to jail. But were they traitors or treasonous? I mean, yeah, I think some were stupid fighting with the cops and getting into all that nonsense. You got to pay a price for that. But to say that those people were going to take over the government and I was going to pay my taxes to them and they were going to meet with the King of England or whoever and the Prime Minister of France or whoever, no one believes that. No one believes that. No general is going to take any fucking orders from any of those people. Not a fucking one. The cops wouldn't even do it. That's not how you take over a country. So meanwhile, they're going to sell you this narrative to ensure that you vote a way they want you to. They're talk. I mean, I really do believe that they dumbed us up for a reason. So this could be the kind of country that we are under the auspices that we can't be invaded because we have two oceans and our neighbors are no disrespect to the Canadians or the anyone south of the border. The 8 country. What? How many countries are south of the border? It might be 13 of them. Um, but they can't fuck with us. But that's all right. Shit changes. Remember, Rome once ruled the world, right? Now they're flooded out and want you to come and take pictures with a leaning tower and throw money in the Trevi Fountain. England once ruled the world. I mean, let's not get crazy here. Two things are good for sure. One, China has never ruled the world, and they're trying, and neither has Russia. I think Russia has the maintain attitude. I think Russia has the same kind of attitude that Switzerland has. Live and let not so much live and let live, but they have a much more sinister live and let live policy. But if your dictator is murdering you off, they don't care. But in another way, neither do the fucking Swiss. The Swiss ain't trying to come and rescue anybody, help anybody out. I say this all the time. America is in bed with people we shouldn't be in bed with. We're a democratic nation. Why are we in bed with kings and queens of anything? Saudi Arabian princes. It should be a dead system, and it's not. Especially in Europe. There's like 3 kings running around left in Europe, right? Britain, I think Scandinavia has a king. There's a king of King Beatrice is from Norway, right? So some people still have kingdoms, but they're not on the world stage, and maybe that's the way it should be. So this North Korean guy should not be on the world stage. I don't know, man. These people are just everybody is trying to get there and stay there, and I think you can tell who the good people are who are good at it, right? You stay there because people want you to stay there, versus people who go, hey, we've been here for 1,000 years. So, yeah. And other people who are like, hey, you shouldn't care what we do to our own people, and you should trade with us anyway. And then there's us. Democracy for everybody, apparently. All right, democracy for everybody. Democracy is not cheap. Excuse me. Democracy is not cheap. Someone's always got to pay for it. And remember, like I was saying earlier, people in your country have to be part of the country, right? They just can't be here or be there or wherever you are. Having said that, we all need to resemble something similar to each other to be part of the same countrymen, country women, country person. I don't know. Country. Let's go with countrymen. Yeah, go get some goodies, man. Thanks for swinging through. It's good talking to you. So we have to do all sorts of kind of like stuff to keep the idea of what we are, we and us are. And if everybody's doing something their own thing in a place, we're not really anything. Uh, but the first thing is that no one pays a penalty for just governmental malfeasance, right? So, I mean, I can make an argument that all those men and women who died in Iraq are the responsibility of somebody. I can make that. I can make that argument. Um, in a fair court, I think you could likely get a conviction as well. But I think the place isn't fair. And I think that's the problem, right? The problem is the whole place is just sort of run by people who don't have a broader picture of what we need. And quite frankly, and again, I don't know what we need, right? But I think at the very minimum, we all need to be on the same page. How do you get everybody on the same page? That's why you're in government, and I'm not. And it can't just be war, for God's sakes. It can't just be war. All right. I'm gonna get an ice cube. I'll be right back. Give me a minute. Amazing day it has been. All right, so what are you gonna do? I honestly don't. I should close this. I honestly don't know. Let's tilt this down. Close this. All right. Close shade. Now we're alone. Do I want to tilt this up? Yeah, let's put that. No. Get a good shot of the can. There you go. All right. I didn't even check the volume. I hope I wasn't too loud or too low. Here's the thing. Here's one of the things. It's easy to criticize, right? It really is easy. I'm beginning to sweat. It's easy to criticize. I realize this, but I try and give myself cover by saying I don't know the solutions, right? But at the same time, you don't have to know what the solution is to recognize that there's a problem. All right. It's 7:30. We've only been streaming for 55 minutes because I was 5 minutes late. Ugh. I did not expect to talk that much about politics today. I'm going crazy. All right. I don't have it anywhere in here, do I? No, I don't. God dang it. All right. That's enough silence. So why don't we run through? Hate to do it. News of today. What's going on today? This guy's always writing a hit job on somebody. Woodward Costa book, worried Trump could go rogue. Miley took secret action to really. So you're saying this American general was essentially betraying the American president? Wow, good job, guys. Good job. Someone should have some blowback for that. Worried Trump could go rogue. Miley took secret action to protect nuclear weapons. What in the fucking world? Ugh. Wag the dog. Look at this. Look at this. Trump to Pence. I don't want to be your friend anymore. You really should do a tweet. Rage 2.0. Who wrote this? All these. This is why nobody trusts this. I mean, just a bullet point. Jamie Gangel. Okay. All the millionaires at CNN. All right. Yeah, I don't buy that at all. But there's going to be a steady stream of that kind of stuff going up to the election because they don't want him to run again. And don't get it twisted. I'm not happy with Trump. But at the same time, I don't like you fucking with the system to make sure you stay in power either. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna do at least, excuse me, one day of cooking on this stream. Don't know how to do it because when I try and enter this whole apparatus on my phone, it's a no-go. So what I like, because I'd rather stream than not stream, right? So what I'll do is I'll probably start a cooking segment, give a notice out, and then drop the whole thing on my phone. We're streaming to 3 channels. This Haps channel, we're streaming to YouTube, and we're also streaming to Twitch. But my whole command center has become the app versus the YouTube or the Twitch thing. I could do, you know what? I'm not even gonna deal with it right now. But we're gonna do some more cooking because I like cooking and I miss cooking. And y'all could stand to learn a few quality recipes from the kid. The kid. I'm too old to be called the kid. Um, we've been streaming for an hour. Excuse me. Wow. Do not burn your throat, man. um, School's back in session. Kids are back in school. Summer is officially over. Labor Day is gone. When's the next holiday? When's the next holiday?
Sorry to disappoint you. Today isn't a holiday here.
When is the next holiday?
Today isn't a holiday.
Yeah, see, there's some of those stock answers always surprise you. Let's look it up online. There's a million lists, right? I figured there'd be a list. Wow, that is some bad typing. Monday, July 5th, Independence Day. Labor Day, Monday, October 11th. So October 11th, Columbus Day, or Indian Peoples Day, or Happy Oppressors Day. I forget. November 11th is Veterans Day. All right, so we've got to October 11th, which is about a month away. Woo! Excuse me. Woo! Excuse me. Hey, William. Excuse me. Yeah, so Columbus, excuse me. So Columbus Day is the 11th. Labor Day was the 6th. That was last week. October 11th is Columbus Day. 499 roads. We don't have, how many holidays do we have? $11. Excuse me. 11. So what is a month without a holiday? I want to say April. This says 10. This says 11. But didn't they just make Juneteenth a holiday? Don't even get me started. All right, here we go. Let's flip this so you can see this. Let's get rid of me. Ugh. All right, so here we go. These are state and federal: January, February's, Marches, April's, May. Really? Kentucky Derby is not a holiday. Cinco de Mayo is not a holiday. All these observances. Orthodox, Christian month. Just where's a holiday? Federal holiday, May 31st, Memorial Day. Okay. First day of Pride Month. How's that a fucking holiday? You people make me crazy with your bullshit. Hold on. Official holiday. Here you go, kids. Newsday, Martin King, the President. Inauguration Day is a holiday? Okay. President's Day, Memorial Day. June 18th, Juneteenth. Why June 18th? That's a Friday. Juneteenth was a Saturday. So when is the holiday? The 19th? Oh my God. See, this is a problem. I was taught that Juneteenth, and I was telling people about Juneteenth before anybody knew what it was, that it was supposed to be celebrated from the 13th to the 19th. It's a week-long celebration. But if you try to week-long celebration now, it'd be about buying new this and getting new that and taking a trip to here. But yeah, okay, Juneteenth, fine. But why the 19th and not the 13th? You know what I'm saying? Oh, good Lord. I was looking for that. Okay, June 19th. Independence Day, I wholeheartedly agree. It's on July 4th, every July 4th. I appreciate that. Independence Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas Day off, the 24th and the 25th. I always thought you should get the second off for New Year's, or the first off because it's a new year, right? I'm not. Hold on, wait. Yeah, right. No, that is right because you're hungover. So I'm thinking the second, not the first. But I guess 2 days off at the end of the year is not bad. The last day off and the first day off. Good job. All right. So look at this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This has 16 days on it. But some of these are federal observances. All right. Patriots Day. Patriots Day. Third Monday in April, Patriots Day, a state holiday established in 1969 to commemorate the opening battle of the American Revolution. It's observed on the third Monday in April to coincide with the public school system's April vacation. Nicely done. And it reminds people why they're getting an April vacation. That's so fucking ball ass awesome. This article is about the American civic holiday for the Quebec holiday. See National Pride's Day. The damn Quebecois and their Pride's Day too. All right. From the anniversary of September 11, 2001, see Patriots Day for the 2006 Motivation Marathon Bomber. Okay. Ugh. Patriots Day, so punctuated in several U.S. states, but Patriots Day in Maine. Okay, Patriots Day, which says all of us patriots, it's our day, versus Patriots Day, which implies this day is for the patriot, right? It's his day that we're celebrating. So one is more about a group of people, and one is more about one person's day, formalized as several state holidays commemorating the Battle of Lexington, Concord, Monotony. Oh, I don't know this one. Battle of Monotony was an action on April 19, 1775, what is now Arlington, Massachusetts. Excuse me. Um, Arlington, Massachusetts. 5,000 men from eastern Middlesex County, been there, and southern Essex County gathered in Monotony to meet the retreating British troops on their way to Boston from Concord. Wow. I said, oh look, the Patriot, the Minuteman. I'm telling you, man. When this is the first story I heard as a kid going into school, crossing my like heart. I told this story on this stream before, maybe not this stream, but another stream. It's one of my greatest childhood memories, right? And then they told me all this stuff. My eyes was like biggest plates about like all this stuff they did, how they made the country go. And then you learn out earlier, man, that wasn't for you, that was for them. But you're still kind of like, it's still, if you just could have did some things different, what would the country be like today, right? In 1894, the Lexington Historical Society petitioned the Massachusetts State Legislature to proclaim April 19th as Lexington Day. Concord countered with Concord Day, obviously. Governor Frederick Q. Greenflage, Greenhouse opted for a compromise. Pages say, however, the biggest battle for on this day was in the town of Monotony, now Arlington. Okay, so they're like, yeah, hello, us on that day, we lost the most men. They were like, all right, god dang it. See, nothing's ever simple. Going back to what I was saying earlier about we all need to believe in something, right? They were able to work this out nicely. Monotony, even as someone sort of tried to slide in there, right? And then someone had a really good claim. You fixed it nicely. Monotony was on the Concord Road between Lexington and Concord and Boston. While the fighting was going on in Lexington and Concord, 5,100 militiamen arrived in Monotony from Middlesex and Eastern counties. I'm sorry, in Essex counties. These men took up positions along the road the British would take on their retreat to Boston. They placed themselves in and around houses, stone walls, fields, and barns. The bloodiest fighting of the first day of the American Revolution took place inside a single house. Wow. The bloodiest fighting of the first day of the, whoa, the bloodiest fighting of the first day of the American Revolution took place inside a single house. The we gotta look that house up. The Jason Russell House in Monotony. I'm not. Don't call it monotony. Monotony. 11 militiamen died in this house fighting British troops trained in bayonet fighting. Ugh. So they were knifed in this house for American freedom. Remember that. Oh, is there a marathon? That shit is cool. I love that. Patriotism was first proclaimed in Massachusetts in 1894. Oh, something's going on for like 100 years by Governor Greenfield. Fast Day was a holiday observed in some parts of the United States between 1617 and 1991. That's like 320 years. What the fuck is Fast Day? As a public holiday, the idea, we're going to look that up too. We're down the rabbit hole already. The idea was introduced by the governor. Okay, we're just going to stop this because we're going to run right past it. I am curious to know how far past it we go. All right. Fast Day. As a public holiday, I'm telling you, man, I love when you show up, when you give me so much good shit. The idea was introduced by Governor statesman from Lowell, Isaac Henry Fage. It was established on April 19th, commemorating the date of the Battle of Lexington and Concord and the larger Battle of Monotony in 1775, and consolidated the long-standing municipal observance of Lexington Day and Concord Day. It also marks the first bloodshed of the American Civil War in the Baltimore Rise of 1861. 1776 consolidate the long-standing municipal observances of Lexington. All right, so it consolidated. It also marks the Civil War. April 19th, 1861, on Pratt Street in Baltimore, Maryland. It occurred between anti-war Copperhead Democrats and other Southern Confederate sympathizers on one side, and on the other, members of the Massachusetts and the Pennsylvania. Good Lord. I just want to read finish that sentence. It was a civil conflict, April 19th, and the Pratt's Revolt. It occurred between anti-war Copperhead Democrats, the largest party in Maryland, and the other Southern Confederate sympathizers on one side, and on the other, members of the Massachusetts and Pennsylvania state militia. Regiments en route to the national capital at Washington have been called up for federal service. The fighting began at the President Street station, spreading throughout the President Street and subsequently to Howard Street, where it ended at the Camden Street station. The riot produced the first death by hostile action in the American Civil War and is nicknamed the first bloodshed of the Civil War. Wow. I had never heard of this. Wow. So let me get this straight. Pro Southern Confederate sympathizers, right? Maryland Copperhead Democrats, National Volunteers, unorganized recruited soldiers, Southern sympathizers, right? There's a whole bunch of manpower on this end versus the United States, the Sixth Militia, the state militia of Maryland, the Washington Brigade of Philadelphia, who have to be marching through, as well as the Pennsylvania State Militia, and the Baltimore City Police Department. This is the establishment. Leader none. Colonel Edward F. Jones. Yeah. Casualties, 4 soldiers killed, 36 wounded. Yeah, you're smashing people over the head with fucking rocks. Losses, 12 civilians killed, unknown hundreds wounded. Unknown hundreds. Yeah, what's this? They used to do the math on this. One trained military man is worth 5 men. Or something like that. Right? One trained military man with a handgun is worth like fucking 20 men. And then it goes up and up and up and up. Right? A trained man is a tool, right? He's like a Swiss Army knife. Wow. This sounds like a fucking story. How did they all get together? Okay, hold on, wait a minute. We were over here on we got a paragraph to go. All right. Excuse me. Page Day was claimed Massachusetts in 1894 by Governor Greenfield, replacing Fast Day. We're going to look up. The idea was introduced by governor the governor by statesman Lowell Isaac Henry Page. It was established on 19th Battle of Concord, Monotony in 1975. Okay, consolidating the long-standing municipal observed on Lexington Day. So it consolidated Lexington Day and Concord Day, as well as marked the first bloodshed of the American Civil War, the Baltimore riots of 1861. Mind you, this is 4 years. Not 4 years before the oh good lord. 4 years before the end of the Civil War. When did the Civil War start? The Civil War started when? (1860) When did the Civil War start? 1861. April 12, 1861. Patriots Day is the 19th. All right. So this is like a week later. This is like a week later. This whole thing kicked off a fucking week later. All right. In Monotony, not Arlington, 25 militiamen died and 40 British soldiers were killed. The dual commemoration Greenfield explained, celebrating the anniversary of the birth of the liberating the Union. It's likely that the battle that took place in Menominee are not as well known as the smaller battles in Lexington and Concord because the town has had several names since that day. In 1775, they changed the name of the place. In 1938, with the generation that had fought in the Civil War largely off the voter rolls, the Massachusetts legislature passed a bill establishing the holiday in commemoration of opening of the War of the Revolution. So they had to wait for all these people to die. 1938, all the people who fought the Civil War, right, to die, that have fought the Civil War largely off the voter rolls. The Massachusetts legislature passed a bill establishing a holiday in commemoration of the opening events of the War of the Revolution. That's what they wanted to be known for, not the Civil War. Let the South fucking be known for the fucking Civil War. We have a glorious war history here in the North, and it tracks Ben Franklin and George Washington, and yeah. We're just gonna let those guys die. Then we're gonna go back because honestly, I've never heard of this. Uh, Maine followed Massachusetts in 1907 and replaced its fast day with Patriots Day. On June 10, 2070, Governor Daniel Malloy signed a bill establishing Patriots Day as a statewide unpaid holiday in Connecticut. On April 16th, Connecticut became the fourth state to recognize the holiday. Greedy businessmen put their finger on the scales on that one. You can see it. Description: Hollywood was originally celebrated April 19th, the actual anniversary of the battle fought in 1775. Since 1969, it has been observed on the third Monday of April in Massachusetts and in Maine, until the Missouri Compromise of 1820 was part of the Massachusetts. The Monday holiday created a 3-day long weekend. It also the first day of a vacation week for public schools in both states and school holidays. Yeah, in Brooklyn, we had Brooklyn Queens Day. And we were of the 5 boroughs, only Brooklyn and Queens got the day off. And to this day, I can't tell you what Brooklyn Queens Day is and why we got it off and the other 3 boroughs didn't. Um, the main Massachusetts, the holiday celebrate 19 active battles, which until a part of Massachusetts. The first day of the weekend, both states on holiday for many large new birth. But okay, the days of public school are observed in Wisconsin. Wisconsin. Florida law also encourages people to celebrate it, though it's not treated as a public holiday. So you want to encourage people to vote for it, but you don't want to fucking lift your finger. There's your problem. This sounds fucking awesome. Huh. The most significant celebration of Patriots Day is the Boston Marathon, which has been run every Patriots Day since April 19th, 1897. Wait, what? The most significant celebration of Patriots Day is the Boston Marathon, which has been run every Patriots Day since April 19th, 1897. You were running Boston marathons in 1897, except in 2020 and 2021. To mark the recently established holiday, the race linked the Athenian and the American struggle for liberty. Hold on. The Boston Marathon is an annual marathon race. Where is it? Established 19. Oh, really? That's amazing. I did not know that. Where's the history section of this damn thing? The Boston Marathon was first run in April 1897. It has been inspired by the revival of the marathon for the 1896 Summer Olympic. Wow, they got on this fucking immediately, like a year after. Because I was like, what? You just restarted the Olympics like 100 years ago. And had to go until 20. It was the oldest continuously running marathon and the second longest continuously running foot race in North America, having debuted 5 months after the Buffalo Turkey Trot. The Buffalo Turkey Trot is an annual 8K Thanksgiving foot race held in Buffalo, New York. Each Thanksgiving Day, the Buffalo Turkey Trot, a popular fundraiser for a local branch of the YMCA, runs 5 miles down Delaware Avenue in Buffalo. Wow. And it was the longest running until that guy bombed it. And then coronavirus came around and canceled it. Wow, that's amazing. I did not know that. I may need to get a shirt. That's amazing. Acton Minutemen and citizens marched from Acton to Concord on Patriots Day in 2012. On Monday morning, mounted reenactors with state police escort retraced the midnight ride of Paul Revere and William Dawes, calling out warnings on the whole way. Was one of several men who, in 1775, alerted colonial Minutemen in Massachusetts of the approach of the British Army troops prior to the Battle of Lexington and Concord at the outset of the American Revolution. For some reason, for some years, Paul Revere had the most renown. Yeah, apparently he came up again. Um, had the most renown for his right of warning of this event. There's a picture of him. How'd you find a picture of him? He was a tanner. His wife's name was Mehitable. Mehitable May. 1768, 1793, divorced. Amazing. We're trying to organize Burger Print into the Rolling Boston Militia Midnight Ride. These are the heroes that, yeah, now we don't know who they are. Uh, oh man, I freaking Jack Russell. Look at this tiny little house. Bayonet fighting. After you fire your gun, I mean, you better know how to use a knife. Look, bullet holes in the main staircase of the house are still visible. Yeah, once you put a hole in something, it's going to stay there. But did they go through somebody and land in a bullet? Why would someone shoot into the stairs? This implies it went through people. Wow. Is a horror housing on in Massachusetts decided the bloodiest fighting on the first day of the American Revolutionary War, April 1775. The Battle of Lexington and Concord. The house was purchased in 1923 by Arlington Historic Society, which restored it in 1926 and now operate as a museum from mid-April through the end of September, together with the adjoining Smith Museum. Built in 1981 to the house chain and exhibits of life in Arlington. Wow. History. What the book was April 17th. The House enshrining drought with this described the bloodiest conflict of the first battle in the Revolutionary War, resulting in more colonial troop death than anywhere else along the battle road. As the British troops marched back toward Boston, heavy fighting occurred along their route through Arlington, then Monotony. Brigadier General Hugh Percy gave orders to clear every dwelling to eliminate snipers and houses along the way were ransacked and set afire by retreating British. The running battle continued to Jason's Russell's house, where Russell was joined by men from Beverly, Danvers, Lynn, Salem, Dedham, and Needham at his house. The battle at Jason's house occurred late in the day, around 5 p.m. Light infantry and grenadiers from the detachment were engaged early at Lexington and Concord, marched toward Boston along the Concord Road. They had been met early at Lexington by a brigade led by Lord Percy that brought up the rear and provided strong flanking parties. The, the Americans kept up incessant fire from behind stone walls and other places of shelter as the British retreated. The skirmish erupted in full-fledged battle at Jason Russell's house. A company of Minutemen under the command of General Gideon Foster, along with several other companies of Minutemen and militia, had left Danvers early. All reached Monotony before the British. Many of them went into a walled enclosure near the Jason Russell House, where they planned to intercept the retreating soldiers. Despite being warned to watch for a flank guard by Israel Hutchinson, one of the company's captains, they focused on the main body of the British as it passed. When the flanking party When the party flanked the Concord Road to the south, surprised them, the American fled to Jason Russell's house. Jason Russell was 59 and lame. At noon, he had started with his wife and children to seek safety at the George Prentice house higher up the hill, but after proceeding partway, he sent them on alone and returned to his house. A nearby neighbor, Amy Cutter, advised him to seek safety, but Russell refused, reportedly saying an Englishman's house is his castle. So he thought himself as an English. Cutter himself was nearly killed by fire from an advancing flanking party. Stumbling in, wow. A nearby neighbor, Ami Cutter, advised him Cutter was nearly killed by fire from advancing flanking party, stumbling and falling between mill logs as bullets hit their bark around him. He was thought dead, and the British passed him by. Russell was outside his house enjoying the Minutemen as they fled toward it. Being old and slow, he was in the rear and was shot twice as he reached his own doorway, and then stabbed 11 times with bayonets. Jeez. The British rushed into the house, killing everyone they could see. 8 Minutemen made it to the basement and survived by pointing their guns up the stairs. When Jason's wife returned, she found her husband and all of the dead laid side by side in the kitchen. The house itself was riddled with bullets, many of them still visible. The bloodstains on the floor were still visible when it was replaced in 1863. Jason Russell and 11 others were buried in one grave without a coffin. A plain obelisk of New Hampshire granite now stands above the grave. It is reported that Captain William Adams, who lived nearby, brought a sheet from his house, saying he could not bear to have his neighbors buried before his eyes without a winding sheet. The inscription on the monument reads, erected by the inhabitants of West Cambridge AD 1848 over the common grave of Jason Russell, Jason Winship, Jabez Wyman, and 9 others who were slain in this town by the British on their retreat from the Battle of Lexington and Concord. April 19, 1775, being among the first to lay down their lives in the struggle for American independence. The 9 others forgotten at the time the monument was erected have since been identified as John Bacon, Amos Mills, Jonathan Parker, Nathaniel Chamberlain of Needham, William Flint, Thomas Hadley, Abegno Ramsdale of Lynn, Elias Haven of Dedham, Elias Haven of Dedham, and Benjamin Pierce of Salem. Jason Russell estimated, Jason Russell estate, come on. Oh, good Lord. Jason Russell estate was settled in 1776. His house and 117 acres of land were divided between Noah, his only son left at home, and his widow, Elizabeth. She received the 17 acres the house was standing on, together with half the house. With half the house? Liberty to EUS, the oven when wanted. What is that? Liberty to use the oven when wanted. An additional privilege of use, including space in the barn. Noah received the other half of the house, half the barn and some land. Other children got other parts of the estate. Elizabeth Russell lived in her northerly room until 11th of August 1786 when she died at the age of 65. Wow. That's crazy. They lost and then they just decided to kill everybody on the way out. Fast day, a day of public fasting. Oh, well, that's what we need to say about that. That shit is bullshit. Who organized these people? Why did they show up? 1861, the Battle was anti-war and did not support a violent conflict with their southern neighbors, but many sympathizers passionate with the Southern cause. In the previous year's presidential election, Abraham Lincoln had received only 1,100 of more than 30,000 votes cast in the city. Wow. Opponents were infuriated and supporters disappointed when the president-elect, fearing an infamous rumored assassination plot, traveled secretly through the city in the middle of the night on a different railroad protected by a few aides and detectives, including the soon-to-be famous Allan Pinkerton. Huh. So wait, really? This was Baltimore? Wow, Baltimore was shady. So 99.99% of Baltimore did not want Lincoln elected. And then he had to sneak through Baltimore to get to Washington, D.C. Abraham Lincoln received only 1,100 of more than 30,000 votes cast in the city. Lincoln's opponents were infuriated and supporters disappointed when the president elect, fearing an infamous rumored assassination plot, traveled secretly through the city in the middle of the night on a different railroad protected by few aides and detectives, including the soon to be famous Allen Pinkerton. In February, en route to his inauguration, the constituently scheduled from the constituent I'm sorry, the constitutionally scheduled for March or 4th at Washington, D.C. Allen Pinkerton in February en route to his inauguration, then constitutionally scheduled for March 4th in Washington, D.C. The city was also home to the country's largest population, 25,000 of free African Americans, as well as many white abolitionists and supporters of the Union. As the war began, the city divided loyalties created tension. Supporters of secession and slavery organized themselves in a force called the National Volunteers. You always name yourself some noble shit like that. While Unionists and abolitionists called themselves Minutemen. The American Civil War began on April 12th, 1 week before the riot. At the time, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Arkansas had not yet seceded from the U.S. The slave states of Delaware and Maryland, as well as Missouri and Kentucky, later known as border states, were in flux. When Fort Sumter fell on April 13th, a day later, the Virginia legislators took up a measure on secession. The measure passed on April 17th after little debate. Virginia's secession was particularly significant due to the state's industrial capacity. Sympathetic Marylanders who had supported secession ever since John C. Calhoun spoke of nullification agitation, agitated to join Virginia and leave the Union. Their discontent increased in the days afterwards when Lincoln put out calls for volunteers to serve 90 days and end the insurrection. There's your problem right there. You told everybody 90 days, and then you extend it, 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 then you extend it. That's what happened. Uh, and in the insurrection, new militia units from several northern states were starting to transport themselves south, particularly to protect Washington, D.C. from new Confederate threat in Virginia. Uh, okay, right. So they were buffering Washington, D.C. Baltimore's new elected reform mayor, George William Brown, and the new police marshal chief, George Proctor Kane, anticipated trouble and began efforts to placate the city's population. What does that mean? Placate the city's population. On Thursday, they all were against uh, the president, though. So what does that mean? On Thursday, April 18th, 416, I'm sorry, 460, 460 newly mustered Pennsylvania State Militia volunteers. I'm beginning to get dopey here for some reason. Thursday, April 18th, 460 newly mustered Pennsylvania State Militia volunteers, generally from Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Oh, what a nice picture of Pottsville, Pennsylvania. It's like a fucking billboard sign. It's beautiful. Uh, arrived. I have I had sage burning in a tray in the other room. I'm just realizing that it's out. I'm hoping that it's out. But I don't smell anything burning, but I don't smell sage either. Anywho, let's continue. Arrived from the state capitol at Harrisburg on the Northern Central Railroad at its Bolton Street station. Okay, so they rolled into town on the train. Across the street from the present site, I don't know what any of this is. Regiment Army of the. Okay, so across the street from the National Armory. They were joined several regiments of regular United States troops. Uh, Later, the Confederate general and commander at the siege of Vicksburg, Mississippi, who surrendered, resulted in spite of the Confederacy, returned from duty on the Western Front. What? All right. So this was before he was a a Confederate general. He put down this riot. All right. Uh, excuse me. Later, the Confederate general returned at the siege of Vicksburg, Mississippi, who surrendered in July 1863. 2 years later, resulted in the first split of the Confederacy. Returning from duty on the Western Front, they split from the Howard Street in downtown Baltimore. Fort Henry reported to. What is going on here? Are you telling me the placement of soldiers at places that I don't know? And reported to duty, several hundred National Volunteers of Southern sympathizers rallied at the Washington Monument and traveled to the station to confront the combined unit of troops. So they all got together and went down there to fight it out with soldiers. I don't even know what to say about that. I don't even know what to say about that. That's 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 that sounds like America. Oh my gosh. 700 National Volunteers of Southern sympathizers rallied at the Washington Monument and traveled to the station to confront the combined unit of troops, which, unbeknownst to them, were unarmed and had their weapons unloaded. Kane's newly organized city police force generally succeeded in ensuring the Pennsylvania militia troops safe passage marching south on Howard Street to Camden Street. Nevertheless, stones and bricks were hurled, along with many insults, and Nicholas Biddle, a black servant traveling with the regiment, was hit on the head. But that night, the Pennsylvania troops, later known as the First Defenders, camped at the U.S. Capitol under the uncompleted dome, which was then under construction. Wow. They camped under the dome. That dome is fucking beautiful. The United States Capitol Dome is a dome situated above the rotunda of the United States Capitol. The dome is 288 feet, 88 meters in height, and 96 feet, 29 meters in diameter. It was designed by Thomas U. Walter, the fourth architect of the Capitol. Yeah. U.S. Capitol, baby. Idiots on one side, morons on the other. Kane's newly organized city police force, okay, bricks were hurled, and Nicholas Biddle, a black servant traveling with the regiment, was hit on the head. But that night, the Pennsylvania troops first offenders. Okay. April 19, 1861. On April 17th, the 6th Massachusetts militia departed from Boston, Massachusetts, arriving in New York. The following morning, and Philadelphia by nightfall. So they're coming down from Massachusetts. They're going right. So they're coming from Massachusetts into New York, down through Philadelphia, and into Baltimore, where they anticipated a slow transit through the city because of an ordinance preventing the construction of steam rail lines through the city. There were no direct rail connections between Philadelphia, Wilmington, Baltimore Railroad, President Street, and the Baltimore and Ohio Rail Yard Camden Station, 10 blocks to the west. It was 10 blocks. Rail cars that transfer between the two stations had to be pulled by horses along Pratt Street. Wow. Okay. Sometime after leaving Philadelphia, the unit colonel, Edward F. Jones, received information that passage through Baltimore would be resisted. According to his later report, Jones went through the rail cars and gave his orders. It will be resisted. That's the best way I ever heard Oh, let's look at this. That's the best language I ever heard of saying that this shit's gonna go down. So prepare yourself. Showing route of railroad through Baltimore from Preston Street Station. This is the route. Goes up here, goes down here, then comes here. All right, fine. Um, he gave his orders. The regiment will march through Baltimore in columns of section arms at will. You will undoubtedly be insulted, abused, and perhaps assaulted, to which you must pay no attention whatever, but march with your face to the front and pay no attention to the mob, even if they throw stones, bricks, or other missiles. But if you are fired upon and any one of you hit, your officers will order you to fire. Do not fire into any promiscuous crowd, but select any man whom you may see aiming at you and be sure you drop him. Indeed, as a militia regiment transferred between stations, a mob of anti war supporters and Southern sympathizers attacked the train car and blocked the route. Anti war means don't go to war with them, just let them leave and be their own country. Right? I want to be northern, but don't get into a fight with them. There will be loyalists in the American Revolution. They'd be people going, "Why are you fighting with the king? Just pay the taxes for this tea." Right? And then they would work against you because they're for the king. So you had those people, and then you had the Southern Confederates. Uh, we're running on this thing. All right. The mob attacked the rear of indeed the militia regiment transferred between stations. A mob of anti-war supporters, right, loyalists essentially to Southern sympathy, I guess, and Southern sympathizers attacked the train car and blocked the route. When it became apparent that they could travel by horse no further, the four companies, about 240 soldiers, got out of the car and marched in formation through the city. However, the mob followed soldiers, breaking store windows and causing damage until they finally blocked the soldiers. The mob attacked the rear company of the regiment with bricks, paving stones, and pistols. In response, several soldiers fired into the mob, beginning the giant brawl between the soldiers and the mob and the Baltimore police. In the end, the soldiers got to the Camden station and the police were able to block the crowd from them. The regiment had left behind much of their equipment, including their marching band's instruments. Four soldiers, Corporal Sumner Henry Needham of Company 1 and Private Luther C. Ladd. Look at how young he fucking looks. No picture for him, but look at young Mr. Ladd here. Okay, we have to pop this open. Look at him. The first man who fell in the Union Army. Wow, I'm sorry, I'm leaning out of frame. Uh, sorry. Wow. Is regarded by some as the first Union casualty of the American Civil War. Although he was killed by civilians of the United States, he was killed in Baltimore Ride of 18 as the troop passed through the city. Charles Taylor, Addison Whitney of Company D, and 12 civilians were killed in the riot. About 36 of the regiment were also wounded and left behind. It is unknown how many additional civilians were injured. Needham is sometimes considered to be the first Union casualty of the war, though he was killed by civilians in a Union state. I'm sorry, hold on. I just want to see if they know what happened to them. Oh, that he was killed. He was killed in Baltimore Ride as troops. That is all there is. That is it. I feel you. He's got a little more. Bristol, New Hampshire. He's his marching to city attacked by angry mob. Luther C. Ladd was first to fall. His injuries included a fractured skull and a fatal bullet wound that severed an artery in his thigh. Luther C. Ladd remains were interred in Alexandria Village Cemetery, later to be removed and buried beneath the Ladd and Whitney Monument in Lowell, Massachusetts. 43 to 61. What is that? 17? 43. 53 is 10 years. 63 would be 20. So 18, he was 18. Uh, Died of a bullet wound to the leg, a fractured skull, and bled out. 12 civilians were killed in the riot. Behind it, how many additional were injured. Needham is sometimes could be the first, the same. Okay, American Civil War, Union State. Casualty of the war, though he was killed by civilians in a Union state. The same day, after attack on soldiers, the office of the Baltimore Record, a German language newspaper, was completely wrecked and the building seriously damaged by the same mob. But the publisher William Schnaufer and the editor Wilhelm Rapp, whose lives were threatened, were compelled to leave town. The publisher later returned and resumed publication of the record, which continued throughout the war to be a supporter of the Union cause. The editor moved to another paper in Illinois. As a result of the riot in Baltimore and pro-Southern sympathy the much of the city's populace, the Baltimore Steam Packet Company also declined the same day a federal government request to transport Union forces to relieve the beleaguered Union Navy Yard at Portsmouth, Virginia. Wow. I got to know what happened after this. I mean, how do you not? In Brown's later assessment, it was Baltimore's riot that pushed the two sides over the edge into full-scale war because there was shed the first blood in a conflict between the North and the South. Then a step was taken which made compromise a retreat almost impossible. Then passion on both sides were aroused with cold, which could not be controlled. On July 10, 1861, a grand jury of United States District Court indicted Samuel McTeer, Louis Bitter, James McCartney, Philip Cashmere, Michael Hooper, and Richard H. Mitchell for their part in the riots. After the April 19th riot, some small skirmish rounds occurred throughout Baltimore between citizens and police for the next few months. But a sense of normalcy returned as the city was cleaned up. Mayor Brown and Maryland Governor Hicks implored President Lincoln to send no further troops through Maryland to avoid further confrontation. However, as Lincoln remarked to a peace delegation from Young Men's Christian Association, Union soldiers were neither birds to fly over Maryland nor moles to burrow under it. On the evening of April 20, Hicks also authorized Brown to dispatch the Maryland State Militia for the purpose of disabling the railroad bridges into the city, an act he would later deny. One of the militia leaders was John Merriman, who was arrested 1 month later and held in defiance of the writ of habeas corpus, which led to the case of ex parte what? Was arrested in May and held prisoner in Fort McHenry in Baltimore for the. This is Latin. It's a very famous habeas corpus case. Okay, I don't know what that means though. These guys, the Supreme Court gets it wrong a lot, not the civil court. On April 19, Mayor General Robert Patterson, commander of the Department of the Washington, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and the District of Columbia, ordered Brigadier General Benjamin Franklin Butler of the 8th Massachusetts to open and secure a route from Annapolis through Annapolis Junction to Washington. The 8th Massachusetts arrived by ship at Annapolis on April 20. Governor Hicks and Mayor of Annapolis protested, but Butler, a clever politician, bullied them into allowing troops to land at Annapolis, saying, "I must land, for my troops are hungry. No one in Annapolis will sell them anything." Replied, these authorities of the state and the city, Butler intimated that armed men were not always limited to the necessities of purchasing food when famished. So he essentially said, look, you're going to let us come through here and buy stuff, or we're just going to come through here and take whatever the fuck we want because we're an army. And then the governor and the mayor was like, all right, fine, you can march through, but make it fast. Because, we will wreck your whole shit. They're an army, for God's sakes. That is a good, that's not being a good politician. That's threatening people. Um, the 8th Massachusetts with the 7th New York proceeded Annapolis Junction, halfway between Baltimore and Washington, and the 7th New York went on to Washington, where on the afternoon of April 25th, they became the first troop to reach the capital by this route. They were called the Maryland to declare secession in the wake of the riots. Governor Hicks called a special session on the state legislature to consider the situation since Annapolis, the capital, was occupied by federal troops and Baltimore was harboring many pro Confederate mobs. Hicks directed the legislature to meet in Fredericks, Virginia, the predominantly Unionist western part of the state. The legislature met on April 26th, and on April 29th, it voted 53-13 against it. Though it also voted not to against secession, though it also voted not to reopen rail links with the North and requested that the Lincoln remove the growing number of federal troops in Maryland. At this time, the legislature seemed to have wanted to maintain Maryland's neutrality in the conflict. We just want to protect ourselves. Fuck everybody else. Yeah, you're the worst kind of people. Um, Good lord, this fucking scroll thing is horrible. Many more Union troops arrived. On May 13th, Butler sent Union troops into Baltimore and declared martial law. All right. He was replaced as commander of the Department of Annapolis by George Caldenwall, another brigadier general in United States Volunteers. Lincoln subsequently had the mayor, police chief, entire board of police, and city council of Baltimore imprisoned without charges, as well as one sitting U.S. congressman from Baltimore. The chief justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, who was also a native of Maryland, ruled on June 4th, 1861, in ex parte that Lincoln's suspension of habeas corpus was unconstitutional, but Lincoln ignored the ruling. And later, when Baltimore newspaper editor Frank K. Howard, Francis Scott Key's grandson, criticized this in an editorial, he too was imprisoned without trial. Ironically, Frederick Truth imprisoned the young newspaper editor in Fort McHenry, which, as he noted, was the name of the fort where the Star Spangled Banner had been waving over the land of the free in his grandfather's song. In 1863, Howard wrote about his experience as a political prisoner at Fort McHenry in the book 14 Months in an American Bastille. Two of the publishers selling the book were then arrested. What? Oh my God. Oh my God. So he arrested the governor, the mayor, the police chief, all the police personnel. Then he started arresting. Wow, that's impressive. Uh, Again, this is why I'm over here saying, once you get that big chair, there's a lot that you can't do. I mean, that not that you can't do, that you don't want to do, right? I mean, not don't you want to, but that no one can stop you from doing. So people are hating a lot on Donald Trump, but Donald Trump had a giant amount of leeway as president of a nation, as leader of a nation. Yeah, and you make it sound like he has a adhere to the same rules you adhere to, which is ridiculous. What you have to do is put the best person for the job in that seat, and not, be surprised by the nonsense that they get up to. Uh, that is amazing. So he arrested everybody. He wrote a book, and then the two people who published the book were then arrested. A man supposed to be a Maryland State militia soldier was detained in Fort McHenry, and Judge Gills in Baltimore issued a writ of habeas corpus. But Major W. W. Morris, commander of the fort, wrote back, at the date of issuing your writ and for 2 weeks previous, the city which you live and where your court has been held was entirely under the control of the revolutionary authorities. Within that period, United States soldiers, while committing no offense, have been perficiously attacked and inhumanely murdered in your streets. No punishment has been awarded, and I believe no arrests have been made for these crimes. Wow. Supply of provisions intended for the garrison has been stopped. The intention to capture this fort has been boldly proclaimed. The most public thoroughfares are daily patrolled by large numbers of troops armed and clothed, at least in part, with the articles stolen from the United States and the federal flag, while waving over the federal officers were cut down by some people wearing the uniform of Maryland soldiers. To add for the foregoing assembly elected in defiance of law, but claiming to be a legislative body, but claiming to be a but claiming to be a legislative body of your state, and so reckoned by the executives of Maryland, was debating the federal compact. If this not be rebellion, I know not what to call it. I certainly regard it as sufficiently legal cause for suspending the privileges of writ of habeas corpus. Moreover, Morris wrote, if in an experience of 33 years you never before known what the writ to be disobeyed, is only because such an contingency in public affairs as the present has never before arisen. Wow. This guy's a fucking ball. I'm trying to find his name again. I found it. P Banks. Here you go. Okay, we don't need to go through too much of this, but man, I wonder. Hold on, wait a minute. The aftermath was what? Who got hung? Nah, it's all about what the politicians did. There's no sense of metering out any justice to the people who did this. Yeah, it doesn't tell you what happened to them. I'm assuming they just all went to jail. All right, I guess that is it. We've been streaming for 2 hours and what do you want to say? 2 hours and 2 minutes. Oh my gosh. Um, we fell down a rabbit hole of Revolutionary War stuff, and we went about 49 minutes over where we normally go. So I guess that's good. Let's stop this. All right, fine, whatever. Uh, I want to thank all of you for coming by. Remember, we're here nightly, 6:30, Monday through Saturday, 7:30 a.m. on Sunday. We talk about everything. We're figuring it out. We're working it out. It's an evolving thing. But please like and subscribe, and come back tomorrow for more of this fantastic. I want to thank William for coming through. I want to thank everyone in the chat. We're not going to talk any more Revolutionary War stuff. I mean, I really love that stuff. I kind of really do. Everyone likes World War II or the Civil War. I think it just breeds more contempt for each other. Anyway, meanwhile, liking the Civil War, the American Revolution only breeds contempt for the British. All right, boys and girls. I will see you tomorrow. Please like and subscribe, and get at me in the chat. All right. See you tomorrow. 6:30 tomorrow. All right, got it. We agree. Have a good night. Take care of yourselves until the next one. Right. Peace out.